Welcome to the Wisconsin Music Podcast. Here to introduce you to the great musicians and music businesses and organizations of Wisconsin. Every week, Wisconsin Music Podcast will be bringing you great information on what's happening in the Wisconsin music world. For our music-loving listeners, we'll bring you music that you haven't even heard of yet from unique and talented artists and hear about their journey so far. You'll either hear live performances of their songs or songs from their selected discography. For our musicians out there wondering what they can do to further their recognition, we'll be calling upon Wisconsin music businesses and organizations to enlighten you on what they're doing to help further your music journey. And now, here's your host, Zach Fell.
Thanks, Dean. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Wisconsin Music Podcast. I am your host, Zach Fell. We have a new sponsor starting this month, Dave from Diamond Dave Photography, the photography that supports local music in Wisconsin and is ready to work with your band or any solo artist on your next promo pictures or band show. To contact Diamond Dave and see previous work, check out Diamond Dave Photography on Facebook and Instagram. Wisconsin Music Podcast is also brought to you by ZTF Studio. ZTF Studio recording and mixing services, specializing in singles, demos, EPs, and LP projects for the last 20 years in southeastern Wisconsin, doing jazz, rock, funk, country, indie, and more. ZTF Studio brings success to your recording project. A few testimonies, one from Dimitri Wolf saying, "It sounds very clear. He's also one of the more professional mixing engineers I've had contact with. Very efficient and mixed vision driven." From Cameron Dean, "Zach provided us with an alternative mix to a song of ours and did a great job. He responded to feedback and was very professional. Thanks for your efforts." From Sergio Valverde, "Zach's work is amazing and very quick. He understood what I said for the mix and he did it incredible. We, Voice of Nature, are very happy." Check out ZTF Studio at ztfstudio.com. Also, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Well, that's it for advertisement. Let's get to the interview. This week, we have Nick and Kayla from the Kenosha Opera Festival. Welcome to the Wisconsin Music Podcast. Why don't you guys kind of give us a little idea about what the Kenosha Opera is about?
We're a summer festival, and we were intending to start last year. Our official company anniversary is the first of the year, so we picked like the worst year in the world ever to start a venture. And we were all set to try and start, and we've got a 5-year plan to embark on that and do a live performance. Didn't work out like pretty much every other live performance last year. So now we're gearing up. We're going to call this next season our inaugural season. It's going to be our first live performance. And so we've got some cool announcements coming out for that in the next few months. Can't say too much yet about the big plans, but we will be having a live performance finally. That is the plan. And so, yeah, we're really excited to be, we've been building for a year basically, which has been great in some ways. A little unexpected. We were kind of anticipating working on our feet more, and just sort of going on the fly and being able to actually perform while we built. But we've had a year now to just sort of get it together and create some cool things and make plans. It's been fun. It's been a nice year.
And explore what we can do with opera digitally as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Why don't you kind of tell the listeners about what you mean by that?
Sure. So last summer, when we finally made the heartbreaking decision to cancel our inaugural in-person season, we sat back for a moment and we're like, this can't be it. We can't just go on vacation for the next year. We decided to do a digital gala concert. So we pulled in resources. Nicholas is a professional operatic tenor. So he knows people in the industry who submitted performances for our concert. And then we also did a grand finale chorus, and we had over 40 people participate in that, singers and instrumentalists from around the country and around the world. Actually, we even had a submission from Austria, which
Vienna,
was to do this incredible, it was about 45 minutes, the whole gala concert, and we streamed it on YouTube and Facebook, and we raised a bunch of money to get started. We were honestly blown away by the response we got, because we are essentially nobodies right now. I mean, we're working from a small starting point, just the people that we know, the people that trust us, but apparently word of mouth travels fast. So we've been able to get a lot of support. We've also started a YouTube channel, of course, as I think a lot of people are doing these
Yeah.
In addition to putting out performances, we did a small Christmas performance. We also do monthly episodes of Scorekeeping, a web series where we discuss opera-related topics, anything related to performing arts, especially a lot of pop culture, dive into the scores, and honestly, just about anything.
Yeah, dive into the history, just sort of explain things that maybe you wouldn't have known that you knew about opera, or bring in new opera concepts in a way that maybe, through a medium that you already know. So like movie scores, pop music that has opera references, or all kinds of cool stuff. So it's pretty open-ended. It's not really strictly, this is opera, but it's just there to entertain, but also get people to sort of understand that there's nothing scary about opera. There's nothing weird or there's nothing to fear about coming and being a part of opera. It's just, young people like us and people of all different walks who are there. And it's a really cool thing that pretty much anybody can enjoy. So it's just breaking down barriers to entry so that people can get into it.
I'll give you a little bit of my background with opera is when my daughter was younger, she's almost 20 now, but when she was, elementary school age, she was part of SUPA in Kenosha. Do you guys know of that program?
Yeah, I know a few people who are a part of that. Yeah, that's awesome.
I know you guys can't really talk about what your inaugural performance is going to be, but can you kind of give a little bit of a hint about they might expect when this actually happens?
Sure. So we are excited to say that our grand finale performance of the inaugural season will be with professional operatic singers that are coming in from around the country.
Okay.
We will also be utilizing local talent, of course, to fill some roles and also to serve in our chorus. We are also planning on doing a full orchestra, which is really exciting.
Yeah,
very exciting.
That's the biggest step. We just felt like after the incredible response we got last summer, we're like, yeah, we can do this. We have these resources in Kenosha. We just got to ask. I think that's the biggest lesson we've learned.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing when you ask for, people are so generous.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's amazing what you can do too. It all looks, when you stand back and look at what you want to achieve, it looks like a ton, especially with opera. Like opera is commonly called the most opulent art form that there is. Because the singing is way over the top, the orchestration's over the top, everything, the sets, costumes, it's like historically over the top. So when you're looking at trying to put an opera on, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be too much. But what we realized was that actually it's not. You just take each challenge as it comes, and we've got our growth plan that we wanted to start with and go over like 5 years and build. And we didn't want to lose this year just because of the pandemic. So we realized this is doable. Let's do it. So it's going to be really good. They can expect all of these wonderful things we were talking about, full-length concert opera for the first season.
Right. And we're also doing some smaller performances as well. Like I said, we're bringing in some incredible professionals. We don't want to waste their talents.
Right.
They're going to be offering some free or very low entrance fee recitals in the community. Yeah. Without giving away any venues or anything. One of them's going to be in a bar. It's going to be awesome.
Opera in a bar. Now that's something I've never heard of before.
And that's what we want to do. We want to do stuff that you haven't heard about before. We want to bring in new people to opera that think, well, a theater is scary. One of our close colleagues just told us people think those very opulent theaters, those opulent performances are scary. And I'm like, cool. Let's take a couple steps back and give them something that's not scary.
Yeah.
Something familiar.
And it can be fun too. I mean, that's the other thing. By putting opera in a bar, you're putting this art form in a place where people are comfortable naturally. Their guard is down. They're not worried about being judged. A lot of times, some things about theaters that are scary, it's not just the, tall ceilings or the fancy architecture. It's the fact that somebody who's like some old war dog who has gone to opera for 20 years might shush you. That's happened to me a few times, and I'm a professional opera singer.
It's this etiquette idea, and I'm like, there is a time and a place for etiquette, but we care more about the art itself and not about how you're supposed to behave. We just want you to enjoy it.
Right. If you're enjoying the performance and you clap at a place where you didn't realize that's not the officially appropriate place to clap, that's okay. You know, you're going to get that the
You
people
liked
around
it.
you aren't. Yeah, we like that you liked it. So put it in a bar. When it's in the theater, do things to make it more fun, play games, keep people entertained all night. So there's never a dull minute.
I know you guys said that the venues you're trying to be hush hush about the venues, but let me ask you some questions and see if these are yes or no answers for you.
Okay. Sneaky.
Are you allowing yourselves to go to or have schools come and see the performances?
Since it's a summer festival, school isn't in session, but yes, we are doing some specifically elementary age geared programming. I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah.
And this is not a secret.
Sure.
That we are starting a college-aged fellowship program that we're launching this summer. So we're going to have fellows that are going to be directly taking part in designing and producing all of that elementary aged programming, which is going to be awesome.
If this is as successful as you want it to be, to push it more into the school year so you can bring it to schools during that time?
Absolutely. We are doing a smaller pilot project actually this spring as well.
Yeah.
We're partnering with Carthage College and doing some small programming. It's a collaborative effort between some Carthage College opera students, some of our professionals, and then some local KUSD schools bringing in accessible programming for the really diverse population we have here in Kenosha. And I think once we see how that goes, and honestly, I think it's going to be amazing. I know it's going to be amazing.
Sure,
I think from there, it's going to open that door for us to do programming year round.
Sure.
The summer festival, sure, that's our heart.
Yeah.
That's our beating heart of what we do. But that influence is going to carry us through the whole year.
Yeah, we're like around doing stuff the rest of the years. We don't disappear, so we'll find some interesting.
I live
fun.
here, you know.
Yeah, right.
This thought just came through my head. I'm just wondering. I wonder what the reaction would be to have it up on a stage at Summerfest.
That would be so cool.
That would be super cool. Actually, so one summer I was working with the Florentine Opera in Milwaukee.
Okay.
Which is one of the large companies, nationally recognized companies. They're one of our biggest in Wisconsin. And they actually put, one time this happened, 4 of us that were in their summer program got up on stage and we did like opera crossover stuff. So we did a lot of like Andrea Bocelli type things or, like the Charlotte, what was that duet that was really famous like ages ago? The Charlotte Church and oh shoot, I don't know if we actually did that piece, but that type of thing.
Okay.
Josh Groban.
Type of programming. It was a lot of fun, and they got into it actually because they had never done that. It was the first time opera had been performed at Summerfest, so they actually like put us in like punk rock costumes and like we just had a good time.
I remember that.
That was super fun. It was great, and
cool.
I mean anything like that we would be interested in doing. But really anything that helps people understand this is just kind of like a human art form. It's not really different than other ones.
No,
it's just something that is. You may not understand the language if it's in like French or Italian or something, and you don't know that language, but we do things to make it accessible to you. So you can read the translation live while it's happening on stage.
Okay.
The product is the oomph of the singing, so, put that in any context you want, as long as people sort of understand that oomph is there. I think they'll feel it and they'll get hungry for it again.
And I mean, our opera singers know how to fill a space.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, whether it's whether it's the Summerfest stage, I know our singers could fill a stage very nicely.
Oh yeah,
so
totally.
I know you're not going to say what the first opera is going to be, but can you say who the composer is?
That maybe we could, because
your decision, but okay.
Yeah, I know. I've got like a whole like advertising scheme where we're gonna like leak information and get it going as we go. I'll tell you. If I don't tell you the language, then the composer is a fair hint. It will be an opera by Donizetti. So Donizetti is this a composer that comes from the 19th century, and he's part of for anybody that doesn't know, the bel canto type of opera composition. So that just means beautiful singing. And bel canto focuses on really flashy kinds of singing. So like lots of runs that move really fast and high notes, just stuff that will wow you. And so Donizetti is he's one of 3 major bel canto composers, and maybe he's one of the better non-opera composers in opera circles. So he's going to be his pieces are big crowd pleasers, and they're a lot of fun. And I think when people find out what it is, they're going to have fun with the idea of this show too.
So that'll put rumors to rest. No, we're not starting with Carmen.
Right. Yeah, real popular one to start with.
No, that's good because some of these operas, they get popular, but then they get overdone. And then people are like, oh, it's the same old, and why should I go see that? But no, it's good that you're bringing fresh, even though it's not new, but it's going to be new to them and new to the population. So, and as America is supposed to be a mixing, a melting pot of different cultures, obviously you guys are going to be pulling from different cultures throughout the season, correct?
Oh,
sure.
Absolutely. And I mean, Kenosha is such a prime example.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a beautiful cultural mural here. A strong Italian American population, a strong Hispanic population. And I just think there's that drive to not just be inclusive, but to acknowledge all the representations of those cultures in this art form.
Yeah, sure.
I think people sometimes picture opera in one way or another, very white, very wealthy, European. And I'm like,
I mean, the thing is too about opera that people don't realize, even though music theater has come up and happened, and that's all wonderful, opera didn't stop at a certain point. It's not anachronistic. It's not something that used to happen and now we just do it kind of like a Ren fair. Opera has continued up to right now. I mean, there are prominent opera composers that are writing new shows all the time, and I've sung some of them. Yeah, and they're great. A bunch of them are in English. One really prominent composer, Daniel Catan, wrote a lot of New World American Spanish dialect operas.
Okay.
And they sound like Puccini or Verdi. It's like a big orchestra, so it's got all the oomph of your older classical pieces, but they're modern settings, and they're in Spanish. A lot of American opera happening now in modern day English. I did a couple years ago a new work, and it was set in the modern time. That's what the script said.
Yeah.
The present day. So even as they go forward, it'll always be in the present day. And all of the characters were college age, sort of 20 somethings. Either early 20s or late 20s. And they were all sort of working through their love lives, this big, magical element that was introduced into the opera. What would happen if some crazy power came out like that? Anyway, the point here is opera. I can get going if you let me.
Can you tell he gets going?
That's fine.
The big point here is opera's for everybody. Opera has been used in a lot of different ways, both by regular people, elites, different countries. Opera has changed every time it crosses another national border. There's no reason why opera shouldn't either be like we see the world now, or keeping that oomph without changing the product. Why opera can't be presented in a way that's like how we are now in Kenosha in 21st century America. No reason at all.
Wonderful. So obviously different ethnicities are going to be presented up on stage as well, and different cultures up there. Will you be having any African American composers?
We'd love to. We do have some ideas about. I mean, this is not a secret. There's this wonderful composer that nobody talked about for years and years, whose name is Joseph Bologna. Chevalier de Saint George is his name, and he,
wow, nice.
And that's even the anglicized version. He's a French composer. He lives at the same time as Mozart.
Okay.
And he writes all of these classical period works, including operas, and they're wonderful. I have listened to his stuff for a while now, and thought, why don't people do that? They're starting to now with obvious cultural-wide reverberations going on now.
Right.
People are starting to look for that kind of stuff, but as much as there are worthy, even local Black composers now who we'd like to do, and maybe, one day, depending on where the funding goes and how much we grow, we could do a commission or something. That would be wonderful. But, there's also historical Black composers that haven't really done that much, and their pieces are awesome and worthy of being done. So,
absolutely.
Not this first season. Who knows what'll be in the second? We don't even know what'll be in the second season. But I'd love to do a Joseph Bologna, for instance. His music is amazing.
And just because you're not necessarily seeing that representation on our main stage production this year. I definitely believe that representation is going to be as part of our recitals, because that is a mixed bag.
Sure.
That's not one of our performers doing a whole opera. It's them selecting a theme for the evening and then selecting pieces by composers of all backgrounds, of all languages, for all periods, to create something truly diverse and interesting. So I think that's where we really want to explore some of those options.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Good. Because I think a lot of our younger audience will be able to connect with it more when they can see themselves up on stage.
Absolutely.
So you talked about getting a campaign going, little things here and there. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Or is that still kind of hush-hush?
Like,
you talking about the 5-year plan?
Or you could talk about the 5-year plan, or kind of tell us how you're going to get this promoted so people know that this is happening. I mean, besides, just doing this podcast, there's only a certain amount that I have a reach at right now. And obviously I want as many people to know about this as possible. So what are you doing to help get people out there to know about this?
Sure. So we've got a multi-pronged strategy here.
Oh boy.
If I can use some buzzwords on you.
Go ahead.
We've had some successes that were planned and unplanned in for the gala concert when we were trying to promote that. We were able to go on Greg Berg's morning show on WGTD here in town. And he interviewed us, and we talked about it and hyped it up. And we had lots of different wonderful singers for that performance who submitted digitally, so we could kind of brag all of the different things, and that got us a lot of attention. We also did an article with the Kenosha News. Liz Snyder did a piece on us and our new company and the gala concert, and that went really swimmingly. That really got far and wide, and it was really cool to see our faces in the news. I went to Lou Perrine's and picked up a newspaper, and there it was. It was me and Kayla right there. Just a few pages in. And so that piece was awesome all on its own, but it actually got reprinted or republished online several places. So it ended up all over the place, but like the biggest one was US News and World Report. So we've got a bit of there've been some tracks laid here where we're going to try and continue to reach those same media sources. But another big thing that we do is, with the video editing skills and the production skills that we have, we always try to make everything really, really attractive. So even though, your following is what it is, our following is what it is right now, we're all trying to grow. Right. We think that if we create ads and video, promotion that are just like, French kiss, beautiful. Yeah, right. Then, people will be interested in that. They will engage with that more. The statistics say it, but also that having that little extra touch that this is like cinematic, that everything you're seeing coming up is like, wow, what was in that ad? We have a certain reaction that we're going for.
I think that's the number one thing we've done right from day one. Yeah. I think, we're small. We know that. Yeah. We have a small reach. Kenosha is a 100,000 person city, but not enormous. Right. So we know we still have a lot of work to do, but we have always taken our social media presence very, very seriously. And honestly, if in this last year we've learned anything, we know how powerful social media can be and how much simple words can impact people in positive and negative ways. So we like to use that platform in a really positive way. Oh yeah. Especially with a lot that's been going on in our Kenosha community here that's not related to what we do directly as a festival, but we live here. We've had a hard year here in Kenosha. Yep. So us taking that platform very seriously, and of course, always putting out high quality content wherever we are, whether that's Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. Yeah. It's important to us that that's right at the top of our list because that's what people see most of the time. Sure. We know that they're not seeing our faces as much right now. And even when we do the live in-person festival, that's about a month of the year. And then the rest of the time, we are still putting our best foot forward in another way, which I think is from here on out going to be primarily digital.
Diamond Dave Photography, the photography that supports local music in Wisconsin. It is ready to work with your band or any solo artist on your next promo pictures or band show. To contact Diamond Dave and see previous work, check out Diamond Dave Photography on Facebook and Instagram. Wisconsin Music Podcast is also brought to you by ZTF Studio. ZTF Studio recording and mixing services, specializing in singles, demos, EPs, and LP projects for the last 20 years in southeastern Wisconsin, doing jazz, rock, funk, country, indie, and more. ZTF Studio brings success to your recording project. All right, back to the interview. Make sure I heard this correctly. When you were on Greg's show, you said you had some digital performances intertwined into that interview?
Yeah, well, so we were promoting the big digital gala concert we were doing to replace our first performance that summer. And, we had a little bit of, I think he did play a little bit of material from that and from just, me, I'm a Kenosha singer, of course. And yeah, it was one of those cool things where we could sort of give people a little taste, and they're used to hearing classical music there. It's all about going where the people are, people that listen to classical music and like opera already listen to that show. So if we go there and present the slickest darn presentation for an opera performance you've ever seen, then we can reach them and reach them really effectively. So yeah, it's great. And Greg is of course a friend going back, so he's happy to put a little clip of something. And he always does that though. He's such a good interviewer, so it's nice to be on that sort of a platform. But one thing I do want to just get in there and say is it's nice to be on this platform too, because none of us have the reach of WGTD, but that doesn't matter. You've got an audience, and we want to reach them.
Right.
And we want them to know that this is here and that it's not stuffy and it's maybe even a lot of fun. So, and you're going to grow and we're going to grow. And maybe, 10 years on from now, we'll go, hey, remember when we were on, you're on your podcast and it was like, both of we still didn't have 1 million followers. Ha ha ha. Well,
Do you want to put some of that digital media implemented into this podcast so people can hear at least some of the talent that you're drawing from? Yeah,
sure. Oh yeah. We had a Keely, who's one of our board members and a professional soprano, sang some Messiah. I think it was Rejoice Greatly from Messiah. And we put that out around a little before Christmas time because, of course, the sing-along Messiah they always have at the Methodist church downtown couldn't go forward. So we recorded that and put that out. That might be a fun one.
You guys also sent me a song for the Christmas episode as well. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks for asking us. That was kind of cool. It was a chance to run out and do some Christmas music for Christmas music. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, very fun. You said you're going to be drawing from other talents for like your orchestra and probably for production, lighting, audio. Do you have those people hired? Are you looking for people to hire for that? And if so, how do people contact you to get involved?
Yeah, that would be awesome. We are definitely seeking technical people at this point. We do have some local contacts here. My husband is a technical director of many facets, stage director. Sure.
He's got a degree in theater arts, and he's a wonderful actor, Shakespeare actor.
Also a computer science guy. So, my background is actually in orchestra. I started life as a violinist, is what I always say. And now I do a bajillion other things.
Still play pretty well. She played on the Digital Gala in the Digital Orchestra. It's nice to hear you play again, actually, yeah.
So I'm kind of heading up the orchestra and personnel manager there. I think if people feel like this is something that they have skills for, that they want to be a part of this, we are open to it. I mean, we're trying to keep the overhead low.
Right.
But especially like orchestra members, choir. If you're listening to this and you are a singer, you may be singing a local group. There's a Southeastern Wisconsin chorus or the Kenosha Chamber Choir, anything, your church choir, and you feel confident singing choir, hit us up. We've got an email, and
we want to have a big chorus. We want to have a great orchestra. And when I'm talking orchestra, I am talking strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion.
The whole deal.
I think if people would like to get a hold of us, Facebook is always great. You can find us Kenosha Opera Festival on Facebook or Instagram. There's a form on our website if you'd rather submit through email there. Our email address is kenoshaoperafestival@gmail.com.
Lots of ways to get involved.
Good.
I'm glad you asked that, because we do want, it's an interesting hybrid thing where people want these singers who've been trained and groomed to the point of like perfection. So we're going out there and getting them from the professional network that we have. But we also want this to be really strongly Kenosha.
Yes.
Something I always say about the festival that I really hope comes true, and we're going to push for this hard just in everything we do. I want one day, probably in the distant future, for the Kenosha Opera Festival to feel as Kenosha as apple pie feels American. I want it to be just baked in, just part of it. It's something that is, a cool heritage here. If you go, like, for instance, if you go into Tenutas today, and you're looking around for your cheese or your pepperoni or your deli item or whatever, you're gonna get some cannoli, you're gonna hear opera on there. You may hear some Italian pop or something too, but many more times than once. And I love Tenuta. I go in there all the time. I've heard Pavarotti on there singing actual opera arias. It's not like just Andrea Bocelli kind of faking it. It's like real opera.
Really calling him out.
Right. I love Andrea Bocelli, but that guy is not necessarily Pavarotti.
No.
And I didn't know. No, that did sound kind of crappy. Andrea Bocelli is great. I don't mean to come from Andrea Bocelli, but this is like these are like recordings that I recognize from like live performances or like a CD that was Pavarotti. So it's like the cream of the crop opera being played in a store in Kenosha.
Yeah.
Like it's already part of the culture here, you know? So I don't actually think we're going to have to do that much to create an environment where there are people here that love opera and that people feel like opera is part of Kenosha. I think it already is. And we're just here. In fact, we've said this in other, situations. We're kind of shocked that there wasn't a Kenosha specific opera company.
Yeah.
It feels like something that we're not bringing this to Kenosha. It's like
it grew up out of Kenosha.
Yeah. It's like we experienced Kenosha and then this just happened. So, and
if you're thinking that you're someone who wants to help with this, but you say, oh, but I've never done opera.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? Me neither. Like I'll say it. Like
Sure.
I'm not an opera singer.
No.
My background is in classical violin. I also do musical theater.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a teacher. I'm a director. I'm a nerd of nonprofit management.
And all those skills are applicable. Every one of those skills comes over. So, if you're interested in being in the choir, but you're like, but I only speak English, that's okay.
We're going to have dialect coaches. We're going to be able to prepare you on that.
You've already met your chorus director. She's great. And we'll get you up to snuff. I mean, it'll be one of those things where, we can have people from different levels. It might be a little hard for the very most, amateur first time person, but, that's okay. If you just be honest with us about where you're at, and we would love to talk to you about coming and being a part of it.
Most of us aren't opera singers,
Oh,
shockingly enough.
I know.
You might be surprised. But
Another thing I'll say is, I'm an opera singer, so I guess I'm outing myself as a little bit out of touch on this particular. I've been training to sing for a long time, but I've worked at a lot of different companies around the country and even internationally. And when you encounter an opera chorus at professional like level A houses,
mm-hmm.
you still find people that are like they're school teachers. They're, they work in an office job, like their day job is at a cubicle.
Right.
A lot of times the chorus rehearsals or any rehearsals that incorporate the chorus are strategically placed in evenings or weekends because those people, it's a rare job that's a full-time opera chorus member or full-time chorus member of anything. So, honestly, if you're not a professional singer, you probably fit right in. That's most opera choruses, most places. The guys at the Met make a lot of money, but that's the Met. We're here to be part of our community. So if you sing and you feel comfortable singing in another language and it's interesting to you, we're the right place to come.
Right, and especially for people like that do have their 9-to-5s, work in a business office or whatnot. It's a release for them to go and do something creative.
Exactly.
Totally.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you yet that you want to cover?
I think if there's
no, check out Scorekeeping. Go on there. It's a lot of fun. We go from all kinds of different topics. Like Kayla covered Ludwig Göransson, who wrote the scores for like Black Panther and The Mandalorian, and talked about his compositional style. We have one that's kind of recent about just top 10 burns that composers have, like insults that composers have leveled at each other. So that one's just a lot of good fun. You'll learn something, but we're going to Trojan horse the educational stuff in there on you. We got a lot of other stuff. You can see some performances that are on there. Just a lot of stuff, and we're adding to it all the time. So get familiar. We're still in the COVID verse, so that's probably the primary way to check us out. But
and obviously we've been kind of secretive today, talking about what, but definitely hit us up on our Facebook and Instagram pages because those announcements are coming in weeks. I mean,
that's true. Yeah,
very soon.
Follow everything because if you aren't following it, you won't get the little ding that the announcement has come up. And we're going to be announcing a few things forthcomingly. So all of the crypticness of this interview will get the people will be enlightened about what's
right. Can you tell me when you're going to start throwing those out?
Sure. So we're going to have one kind of generic ad going out at the end of this month.
Okay.
And then like mid next month, we'll talk about what the actual show is. We'll announce.
Okay. Excellent. Where can they go to sign up for these announcements?
So you can go to our Facebook and follow us there on Facebook. It's just Kenosha Opera Festival.
Okay.
You can also go to Instagram, and that's also the same thing, at Kenosha Opera Festival on Instagram. Go to our YouTube. Again, it's just Kenosha Opera Festival. It's pretty easy to remember. And if you just search that, it'll come right up. You'll find our channel. And then, of course, if you're interested in being a part of this in the chorus or any other way you think you maybe could contribute and you want to be apart, you can always go to our website and there's a contact form, or email us at kenoshaoperafestival@gmail.com.
I think we covered everything that pertains to what gets this information out there to people. Origin music, where you started with music when you started growing up.
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I was kind of one of those weird kids. I started violin when I was 3. So that was kind of my whole life growing up. And it shaped who I am. And I consider myself a pretty solid violinist still today. And I perform professionally, but that's not my whole life. I'm also a teacher. I also run nonprofits. I got a master's in music theater vocal pedagogy. So I am also a singer. I teach 5th grade beginner orchestra here in Kenosha. I direct a middle school choir out in Milwaukee. And I also do this opera company. So I went to college to be a teacher, and I discovered so much more. For anyone who's out there and listening to this and you're trying to figure out like where to go next, you pick where you want to go. Violin is just one part of who I am, and everything else is it's been a crazy puzzle putting it all together. I'm still not sure like what the whole puzzle is. But this is a big part of it right now.
Yeah, totally. Well, I don't know. I started voice lessons when I was a kid, and it was because I was taking piano lessons. We had to. It was like mandatory. My mom was like, "You guys all got to learn music." And so I was taking piano, and I just like hated it. And it got
he's one of those.
Right, yeah. It got to the point where me and the teacher just didn't get along. She was a lovely lady, but I just didn't. I just did not enjoy it at all. And when you're a little kid like that, like, you don't know what the future is. You don't care about piano. So it got to the point where I said to my mom, like, you know what, just don't schedule another lesson. She was like, no, I'm going to. You have to take music. I was like, well, I'm not taking piano. So the compromise was to take voice lessons.
That worked out, I guess, in the long run.
Yeah, it worked out okay. So, it was one of those things. And I studied voice with several different teachers growing up. And eventually I went to college, and I liked a lot of other things. That's the thing. I think most people are complicated people with different interests. I used to be a sketch artist. I worked for a leasing company, and we were leased to Six Flags. So I used to be one of those caricature artists that you'd walk by and ignore at Six Flags. But it was a fun job because it was artistic, and that's what you realize as you go through high school and get older. You learn what sort of things get you going, and the arts are mine. So I love to draw. I still draw. I used to, when I went to college, I was like, I guess I'll major in voice because that's the best scholarship that I got. And, I'll just do that. And I didn't really know anything. I knew something about singing, and that was it. But I still drew like political art for the newspaper at Carthage and did all kinds of different stuff. And it was just one of those things where college was a great time to explore different stuff and learn new skills that you either didn't know you had or develop a brand new skill. So it was great. And then after that, I had gotten pretty well sucked into opera. So I went to grad school. So I was gone for a while up in upstate New York at grad school at the Eastman School of Music. And, just continued. That's where you really get specialized and get good at what you're doing as an opera singer. And so that's what I did. I sang some roles at school, and then started taking, entry-level jobs after that. My first one was in Milwaukee, actually, that summer for the Florentine Opera. And you just go from there. You do all these programs that are kind of like half professional, half training. And then eventually you start to do more roles. And that's kind of where I'm at in my career now, just trying to, it's been weird during the pandemic because nobody's been doing anything, but really looking forward to getting done with the pandemic and getting back on stage and singing some roles.
Yeah, a lot of people for sure are looking forward to when it gets to the point where we can go and see live performances again. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. I know. One thing, hot take here, one thing people keep talking about is like, this is the new normal and things are going to be carried forward from after the pandemic. And that's all true. I'm not going to quibble, but people want to get into the audience.
Yes.
People want to be safe going to see something live. And I think the appetite for that is just like huge.
Yes.
They're going to. So
I think it's going to be like a bottleneck because so many people want to go out there and experience live performances again, and then it's going to explode in different directions.
Which I hope so, because those arts companies that have managed to hang on by a string, they're going to need it. We're going to need it. Everyone's going to need it. So do not think twice about buying that ticket. Buy two.
Buy two.
Bring a friend.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, buy two and bring a friend. It's tough.
Sell out their houses. Sell them out. Let's save arts in 2021.
They really need you. It's frustrating because there's a lot of things that really need you right now. There's still people out there that are struggling with their personal finance, with being out of work for so long or whatever. And, you want to be sensitive to that. So, there's a lot of worthy causes right now. Just to say, the arts are one of them. Whatever you do, however you break up your donation dollars for the year, think about including the arts, because even if it's just buying an extra ticket and bringing a friend, that's so helpful. And the arts do need you. There's a lot of companies that have either already shuttered or are in danger of shuttering, or if the next season is not profitable or, as profitable as they need it to be, they're going to shutter too. So it's a big deal, get out there and help people. For everybody that's listening.
So Kayla and Nicholas, thank you so much for being on the Wisconsin podcast. I really appreciate you coming on and telling us about the Kenosha Opera Festival. I think this is going to be a great thing for not just Kenosha, but for Wisconsin and probably Illinois as well. Northern Illinois.
So
yeah, we're hoping so.
All right, guys, I'll let you go. Thank you again so much for being on. And I will definitely be in the audience at one of your shows.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much for the support. This was great.
Totally. Can't wait to meet you in person.
Same here, definitely. Looking forward to it.
Oh, you too.
Bye.
Thanks.
Well, that was a great interview with Kayla and Nick from the Kenosha Opera Festival. Their website is kenoshaoperafestival.com. So you can get more information from there. They also are on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Kenosha Opera Festival. I'd like to thank Nate Wyckoff for creating the music for the Wisconsin Music Podcast, and to Dean Bundy for our great voiceover in the beginning and intro. Also, ZTF Studio recording and mixing services, specializing in singles, demos, EPs, and LP projects for the last 20 years in southeastern Wisconsin, doing jazz, rock, funk, country, indie, and more. ZTF Studio brings success to your recording project.
Die Sonne wieder scheinen und auf den Wegen, den ich gehen werde, wird uns die Glecken sie wieder einen in der Mitte dieser sonnenatmenden Erde. Und zu dem Strand, dem weiten Wogen hinauen, werden wir stehen und langsam werden wir uns in die Arme